Tuesday, 2:30, Awesemo.com golf show. Myself, Ben Raza, here with it's always the man, but this is actually, this is Tim's Super Bowl fantasy golf man. Here we go. We've got another new event, the 3M Open, here to break down in Minnesota. So the floor is yours. How excited are you?
Oh, I'm super excited. Just when you thought we couldn't get a worse venue than Detroit, Michigan, they're here in the Twin Cities where I live. So, yeah, welcome to everybody that's coming here for this wonderful tournament. It's Minnesota's a great place. But no, this is like the golf tout capital of the world. We're talking about it before the show. How many members of the DFS community live here? Josh Culp, Fantasy Golf Insiders, Moosonomics, Perry. It's
crazy.
it's kind of wild. Yeah, it really is. So, yeah, there should be some sort of golf tout convention this week to go along with the tournament.
I think there is. Your invitation must have got lost in the mail.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear about it.
Times are tough. First thing, obviously, I know you've been walking the course each week, getting ready. Do you have any insight to provide? Because that's why the people are here. Have you played this course from the tips in general, just with a putter? Any special things we can go through?
I played it from the tips last week. I shot 107.
Okay.
So
it's going to play difficult.
Pretty qualified. Yeah, it's going to play tough. The rough is thick. You're going to have to carry a lot of long irons. I think it's going to favor like a high draw, maybe 147 to 160, I think is a good approach distance.
Smart.
No, you know me. I don't get too much into that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's long, 74.50, par 71. They had a Champions Tour event here a couple years prior. I don't think any of that information is relevant. They changed the course a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be long. I don't think it's going to play as easy as last week. There's a fair amount of water at this track. So yeah, bent grass greens. But again, just like last week, I'm not going to try and figure this course out because nobody really knows. But yeah, maybe a little bit of emphasis on length. I mean, I think it'll play easier than average, but I think there might be some bigger numbers out there than we saw last week. But same approach as last week. Just kind of play it down the middle because we really don't know. You'd have to see this course. I mean, a couple years. We'd need a couple years worth of data on any course to start to really get an idea. So yeah, I'm not going to make a big stand that way.
Yeah, I think the things that we know for sure are scores are going to be good in general, but if you're playing bad, you're going to shoot massively over par. It's not like last week where it was pretty hard to really mess it up. This week there's water on, it's something insane. I think like 14 holes, there's like 27 hazards. If you're in the water, obviously it doesn't really matter how easy the course is. You're going to be in big trouble. It kind of reminds me, of like Honda type course where there's a lot of blow up, but if you don't blow up, you can really score. Obviously, I think it's going to be pretty generous. You mentioned it's not the shortest course out there. It can't be easier than last week. That I don't even think that's possible. So let's get that out of the way. But I'm with you. Don't try to get too crazy. Play it pretty straight up. There's other things to break down. I don't think we can draw too many conclusions.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, it's just, not that all that other stuff not that it's totally invaluable, but I think it's really hard to parse out some of this stuff when you really start getting intricate as far as the length of the rough and how far you have to carry the ball and stuff like that. I mean, your time is better spent looking at other things that we can quantify and things that we know rather than some of these characteristics of the course that we're not entirely sure about, or even we don't even really know how to apply them, even if we knew some of this stuff about the course.
That's true. I certainly don't know how to do any of that stuff, so I don't even try.
Pick good golfers. Let's play good golfers this week and see what happens.
That's what we need. Now, you would think that was the way to go last week. It's debatable if that strategy would have worked. Probably not, to be honest. Obviously, Nate Lashley, awesome job. Very cool to see. He wasn't even in the pool. We were close. We were almost there. We were touting people that weren't in the player pool, but not him. So we were closer than most shows. But boy, I mean, I think these events just show you how, obviously, when DJ goes home, that opens it up. But if the cream of the crop doesn't win, it's open season. There's 50, 70 guys that can get in the mix. It's crazy.
Yeah, the weak field birdie fest tends to, bring out some of these guys. And you saw it last week. That leaderboard was kind of crazy. But yeah, good for Lashley. It was a great story to see him win. Yeah, DJ, I can't believe that was a crazy, especially when he rallied back on the
He was
front
five
nine on
under.
Friday, and it was like, oh, we have this wrapped up. He just needs to shoot like even par on the back nine, and he was awful. He didn't want to play the weekend. Nobody wants to be in Detroit for 4 days, let alone two.
That's right. That
Um,
we know that next year. I know Ricky looked like he didn't want to be there on the only on the weekend back nines. So I don't really know what to make of that. But obviously we have a new cast of characters here. It's a similar concept. We've got some really good top tier talent, and then it gets bad fast. So we'll jump into it. We got Brooks, Decky, Jason Day, Bryson, and Reed are the 10K plus options. Obviously, Bryson's the best player here. You see what goes on? Brooks is the best player here. Does motivation come into play with you? We've seen time and time again, non-majors, not his forte, I guess. What say you? Or are you just going to Decky?
Yeah, it's really tough. I keep saying that I don't believe in the he only plays the majors or he only cares about the majors, and I keep trying to jam him in at these other events. And it's not been working at all. But I'm not really sold on anybody at the top. This seems like a great week for me to kind of spread it out. And I mean, I hate to say that, but I just don't have a really strong feeling about any of these guys. Um, I'm gonna play some Brooks because I truly don't believe that he only cares about majors. He might care more, but I mean, if he can eviscerate the field in a major, he can definitely come to the 3M and eviscerate the field as well. So for that reason, I'll have some of them. I mean, he was not good the last time we saw him at the Travelers. The ball striking wasn't there. It wasn't like a case of, well, he just struck it well and just putted poorly. Like, he lost strokes with the ball striking. But besides that, I mean, he's been great. So I do like Brooks. It's definitely not. I don't have a super strong feeling about him. Decky seems like the safer play. The ball striking is right back up where we saw it around the time of the Masters. Kind of slowed down a little bit in between then and now, but the last three events gained 5 strokes ball striking at the Rocket Mortgage, 6.6 at the U.S. Open, 7.4 at Memorial. He's made a ton of cuts. So yeah, I mean, I think Decky's the safer play, but I mean, I'm gonna have some Brooks because it's definitely wouldn't shock anybody to see him come out and lap the field here.
And he's going to be, it's early and we're not going to get too deep into ownership, but I think it's pretty obvious that Decky's going to be significantly more popular than Brooks. Uh, this narrative of he doesn't, yeah, until he smokes one of these fields and it goes away. I'm not a big Brooks guy, but I definitely have interest if he's hovering, 10, 12% and Decky's 25, 30%. Overall, I don't want to say it's not debatable, but Decky is the safest play. He's just churning out good finish after good finish. He's putting well. He always strikes it well. But as unsexy as this is, I don't really have a stand up top. I think Decky's the safest. I totally get going to Brooks. And if you want to start with saving someone like Reed, obviously Bryson, we know these guys can go low, and they've shown signs of getting it together after a pretty sluggish 2019.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think before Bryson came out, I was really high on Bryson and Reed. I think maybe because of the weak field, they're more expensive than I had thought. But yeah, definitely reasons to play both of them. Bryson looks like he's trending back up, positive ball striking in the last three events, 8th, 35th, and 22nd. Same thing with Reed. Struck it really well last week, gained 6.5 strokes ball striking, gained 3.4 at the U.S. Open. And I mean, that's not his forte. He's almost like a short game specialist. So if he's striking it well, that's good. But I like him, but the price tag is a little steep for me. I guess I wasn't factoring in maybe the strength of field. Before pricing came out, I like him, but just a little bit too expensive. You're not getting a discount on these guys.
No, but when we'll get to it in a second. I feel a lot more comfortable with Bryson and Reed types in the tens when we talk about some of the guys in the nines. The last guy I think we just have to mention him. What do you make of Day, who was really, really good at Travelers, couldn't putt, and we know he's a good putter. I feel like he's going to be pretty quiet in there. I don't have a strong take on him. Do you?
No, not really. But you mentioned it. It was a strange performance at the Travelers. He finished T8. The ball striking was awesome, and then he lost strokes on and around the green. Not even a whole stroke, but for him to be negative -0.7 on and around the green, that's not and that's not something you'd expect out of day. So coming off one really good ball striking performance, yeah, I mean, I don't know. He'll probably be the odd guy out for me. I don't love him, but he. I mean, coming off of what he did at the Travelers, he could have easily won that tournament had he had a normal short game performance like we normally see out of him.
I'm similar to you. Like I said, I may get some. He's not the priority for me. There's other guys that I certainly want to go to, but there's no doubting he's going to putt and scramble better than that. And if he keeps that ball striking up, yeah, that's going to be difficult to stop. But you could say that about a lot of guys. I mean, immediately, here we go. We got Rory Sabbatini is next. He's 9,500. You've got Neiman. You've got Finau, who to me is the most interesting guy in the entire slate. You've got Hovland, and then Sungjae Im, of course, racking up those frequent flyer miles. I don't know, man. 9K for these kind of people, it is absolutely brutal.
Yeah, it's tough. From 8K to 10K is really a bad range, and that's a big range too. No interest in Sabatini. I mean, he's on like the co-crack plan, or I'm on the co-crack plan with him. Just keep fading him. It's starting to work with co-crack. I think eventually we'll get there with Sabatini, but that's an egregious price for Rory Sabbatini. He's been playing great, striking it great, but I can't pay that much for him. If I had to go here, Finau seems like the best play if the ownership is low. If he's going to be owned, then I don't know. Do you have a feeling on whether Finau is going to be owned or not?
So it's one of these things. I think he's definitely the candidate for everybody thinks he's going to be sneaky low owned, and then he's actually just popular like he always is. But I kind of feel like he's going to be sneaky low owned. So there we go.
That's how. Yeah, if you can actually figure out if he's going to be low owned, yeah, he would be the play. Coming out 3 missed cuts, but I mean, that's not good. That'll keep the ownership down. But yeah, if he ends up being the sneaky low owned play that everybody plays, I don't love it. Neiman 9,300. I don't like the price, but of anybody in this range, he seems like the one that deserves the price tag. Back-to-back T5s. We've seen him, slowly kind of turn things around. He had 3 straight finishes of around T30, but the ball striking was really good. He's gained strokes ball striking his last 5 events. All 5 made cuts, and seems like he's turned a corner. And we know that he has so much talent when he burst onto the scene last year. So I don't love Neiman, but I think in this range, he would be the guy I would lean on. He seems to be the guy that's at least earned the price tag, has struck it well consistently for 5 straight events.
I mean, part of the reason, obviously everyone can't be owned, and Finau is just in a miserable sandwich spot. I think it's a good sandwich spot because Hovland is going to be popular. We know that. And Neiman is playing fantastic. So it's just tough to imagine. I don't think Im is going to garner a ton, and I don't think Finau really will. So I'm with you. Obviously, we know Neiman was talented. We see this with guys. They have a little sluggish start. Now he's in form. The putters really responded. Hovland is great. I mean, we saw him Sunday. The guy is an absolute monster. But now the price, you're not, this isn't, he's young, make a cut, and he's paying you off. He needs to really keep playing well. Obviously, he can, but if he's 20% owned, I'm more apt to say I'll go elsewhere. Maybe I'll have some exposure, but I'm not getting massive leverage on that guy this week.
It is crazy to see him $100 cheaper than Tony Finau, who has been, I mean, a DFS gold mine for the last 2 years, it seems like, especially in really big events like majors. Granted, Finau's coming off 3 missed cuts, and Hovland's great, but I mean, somebody's mispriced there, in my opinion. I'm not sure who it is yet.
I talked about this in my article, which is on the site. Feel free to check it out, people. I still go back, and it's not even just he's cheaper. He's going to be more popular too. So you can get Finau cheaper and more popular than, or less popular than someone like Rory Sabbatini this week. I'm just typically go to those spots. I'm more apt to do that.
Yeah, we can't totally write off like pedigree and longer term form, and I think some people do. It's like, oh, we forgot about this guy because he's had a bad 3 events. But it's like you have to look back a little bit farther than that and realize when Finau turns it around, he's not going away. It's not like, oh, he's done. That's it. I mean, he's going to turn this around, and it's better to get on beforehand than jump on the boat late when he's going to be 30% owned again 2 weeks from now or whatever.
No question. And this is coming, Chad. Yeah, I'm sure you know this. I'm not a Tony Finau guy. I always am fading him. But in this situation, that is not the case. I don't have a strong take on Sanjay Im. And then I'm just going to open it up immediately. I absolutely hate the 8K range. I don't like anybody. There's some guys I think you can look to, but what an awful range overall.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. And I thought the same thing when I was doing research. And I typically make some notes, go in descending order from price, and my notes literally go from Hovland to Morikawa. And if you'll notice, that includes nobody in the 8K range. It's bad. Streelman has been consistent. He's been fine. Mickelson is interesting at 8,500. But yeah, I mean, he's been terrible.
How many water balls for him this week?
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I don't foresee myself actively targeting anyone in this range. I mean, I might have to play some of these guys just based on roster construction, but I won't feel comfortable about it. And there's nobody here that I would put my stamp of approval on. We'll just say that.
No, Keegan's coming off tidy 10 strokes gained putting, which is right in his wheelhouse. Scott Piercy's someone at the U.S. Open. We saw him, and then you look at the stats. It was all smoke and mirrors. He gained, I think it was 5 strokes around the green. His ball striking hasn't been up to where he's an elite ball striker. It hasn't really been there, honestly. Hadwin to me is someone that really hasn't gotten it going. I like that price tag, but again, the stats are not going to bear it out, because if they did, these guys would be in the 9s. There's no doubt about it. These are riskier type plays. It's just such an awkward range for me this week. I think my plan on a macro level, probably have 2 guys above this, call this a dead range, and then try to find 4 guys in the 7s and 6s.
Yeah, we're exactly on the same page. I can't, like looking at Keegan Bradley's outright odds, 35-1 coming off of a once in a lifetime putting performance. I mean, it's like that's ridiculous. And
it's just, for me, it's pretty simple. Like, you have Keegan, Ryan Moore, CH3, Piercy types. How different are they to Charlie Hoffman, Glovers, Duffner types? To me, there's no difference. Yeah, they're playing a little better and whatnot, but I'll take the savings. In some cases, that's like $1,000. That's the difference between, a super egregious person and then just a minorly egregious person as we work down.
Yes, it feels much better to play an egregious person at 7,500 than 8,500.
Correct. So you know what? We don't need to spend too much time on these guys. I will say Brian Harman, he missed on the number last week. I think that's a fine play at flat 8K, but you look at the high 7s, it's not bad. Colin Morikawa is a guy that showing similar to Hovland. Obviously, he's not to that level right now, but he's making cuts consistently in his short career here. We've got Spawn. We've got Hoffman, Duffner. I think these are names that you can go to.
Yeah, well, since there's no plays in the 8K range, I feel like they're all in this 7,500 to 7,900 range. This is pretty loaded for me, and I'll be playing a ton of these guys. I mentioned Morikawa. I haven't played him up until now, so maybe a little late to the party. Even though he's only made 3 starts, you got to be early on these guys.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, you got to start touting them before they even play a tournament. It's like, there's like some 16-year-old out of the Arizona that I'm looking at. But I mean, he's been good, and I think 7,900 is a good price. His 3 starts on tour, 36th, 35th, 14th. Gained 4.7 with the ball striking last week. Gained 3.4 3 weeks ago, and had one other where he was pretty much break even. So that's pretty decent, and I like the price tag on him. Like you said, I feel better about that than going all the way up to Hovland if that's a type of player you're looking for. I'm going to go right back to Malnati. I thought we had it last week after 2 rounds. We were looking really good, but faded on the weekend. But still, I mean, he was good. Gained, wasn't great with the ball striking. Gained just a little bit with the ball striking, a little bit with the putting, but it wasn't an outlier putting performance by any stretch. I still think he has some hot putting left in him. If he can just put it all together, I think he's got a big week in store for him coming somewhere. And I don't think the price went up enough. He's been playing consistently good, so I like him. Same thing with Spawn. I'll go right back to Spawn again. Gained 2.4 with the approach. He putted pretty decent last week, which is uncharacteristic. But again, I like those two guys, and I've been playing them, and I'm going to continue to play them. The price, not egregious, 7,800 for these guys. I don't think that's egregious at all in this field. Coming off good performance, and Malnati's had, we're going back five weeks with Malnati of playing really good golf.
Oh yeah, my Sunday was him and JT Poston did not get it done on Sunday for me. I really was set up well. What are you gonna do? But there's no doubt he's playing well, and we talked about it last week. He was a putting performance away, and he's a great putter 2 weeks ago from really being in a different category. People didn't pick up on that. I'm going to continue to play him. Spawn is a guy. I've said this time and time again. I think he's healthy. He's a better player than you think. He's just been derailed at certain points. My problem is not them. My problem is I play Charlie Hoffman every single week, and he never makes the cut. Again, last week, he just couldn't hit a putt to save his life. What do I do? Is it just bad? Should I just cut bait with this guy?
You don't play Charlie Hoffman, and
Okay,
you play Malnati and Spawn.
Okay.
They weren't owned last week, and I was surprised. They were around like 5%. I don't know. I'm guessing they'll be more owned this week, coming off a decent performance. But yeah, don't play Charlie Hoffman. Don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I'm probably still gonna have some. I know chat just mentioned CH3. Like, give me the savings, $600 savings, and we know Rory Sabbatini is dealing. Cameron Tringali is also dealing low key. Guys are playing great. You're obviously getting a big discount in price. Secret is out. I know he's going to garner some ownership, but Cameron Tringali is a player right now. He really looks good.
Yeah, he played great last week, and he's had a lot of good approach game performances in his recent past. 4.2 last week, 5.2 at Canada, 2.0 at the Byron Nelson, 4.8 at Valero. Not great off the tee, but really good approach. To me, that's super important. Yeah, he was very good. I think he'll be probably more popular than Spawn and Malnati.
Definitely.
I like Tringali. Still, I prefer Spawn or Malnati to him. But yeah, he's a good play. The approach game's been really good. And these guys that are been consistently good with the ball striking, with the approach, those are the guys that I like to play. I mean, not just chasing. We're not chasing 1 week. It's been a prolonged with him, and he's just playing good golf.
Are you ready for Chalk Sepp Straka week? Because he's going to be pretty popular.
I know. I don't know how I get away from it though, because
the putter showing up finally.
Yeah, it showed up last week. But yeah, I mean, he's been so good with the ball striking. Similar to the other guys we just mentioned over his last 5 events, even in a missed cut, pretty decent numbers. Just the putter has been bad. Has a missed cut on the Corn Ferry Tour. That sounds strange to say. I still want to call it the Web.com Tour. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what this show is about, which is we say the British Open, we say the Web.com.
But yeah, I mean, he's striking it great, and he did putt well last week, and that's how he got to that T11. I just mentioned that I just wanted to mention I wasted so much good putting out of normally bad putters last week.
That's the worst.
Taylor Gooch gained 8.5 strokes putting.
I mean, that
was like a once in a lifetime performance out of him. Straka gained 5.5. Spawn gained 4. I think
Jimmy Walker had about 8. Just egregious.
Yeah, so out of Spawn, Straka, and Gooch, that was like 17 strokes putting out of those 3 guys. Who were all terrible putters, and I had like 100% DJ to go with that. So it was
that's not the answer. Boy, Straka's on one of these runs. He for some reason Dahmen is what comes to mind when he was clicking. He was striking it well every single week. We were waiting for the putter. Then he got that going. Side note, I feel like I haven't seen him in months. Not that matters, but where is Dahmen? Anyway.
He was, I think he played in the U.S. Open, right? Was that
did he?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Didn't notice him there. Now we get, you go below 7,500. It's an interesting range. You've got some guys like Killa Keith and Luke List who I think their upside's through the roof, but there's giant miscut equity. I don't really like it. Corey Connors, who's your guy, we know he's an incredible ball striker, but the short game and the putting are as bad as you're going to find on tour, really. Does anyone stand out in the kind of the lower sevens for you?
Not really in the lower sevens. I like that mid-7 range. And then going down at flat 7, there's a couple guys I like. I'm going to keep going back to Max Homa. Gain strokes, ball striking, 7 starts in a row. One of them was a miscut, just he putted poorly. But 7 in a row with positive ball striking is pretty good. Short game not good, so not a ton of high finishes outside of that win. But for 7 flat, he's been striking it great, just as good as some of these other guys, the Spawns, the Malnati's, if not better. Just not a lot of high finishes. I think that's probably what's keeping the price down. T42 cut 37th, 27th, 64th, and then he had the win. But in all those events, we're looking at positive ball striking, which I think is huge. So I like him. Wes Roach is really interesting. Led the field in tee to green last week. Yeah, I know. You're just like shaking your head like, where is this coming from?
Yeah, I didn't even know he was in this. I didn't know he was in the tournament last week until they went to the 72nd hole and he was taking his hat off. Good for that guy, though.
So, I try not to get wrapped up in a guy that just out of the blue has one great performance, because that happens from time to time and we chase that and usually bad things happen because this guy's a no name. But he led the field in tee to green last week, gained 5.8 with the ball striking. Before that, he missed the cut at Travelers, wasn't good. But then the 2 starts before that, he was T11 at the Canadian Open, where he gained 3.1 with the ball striking, and then he was T10 on the Corn Ferry Tour, Web.com Tour.
Okay. That's Roach.
So it's not like it's totally out of the blue. I mean, good at the Canadian Open, good at the Knoxville Open in the minor leagues. Then he was bad at Travelers, and then he was really good last week. So, I wouldn't mind taking some shots with him. It's not like that leading the field in tee to green was totally out of nowhere. He's been playing decent. I don't know. I still prefer Homa to him. More prolonged good play out of Max Homa.
No doubt about that. So for me, one guy, he's a little above. Sam Burns he's an incredible driver of the ball. Everything else is not great. But I think at this course, you can get away with that. You keep it out of the water, be aggressive. You're not going to have much left to some of these holes. He can score. We know that. You got to worry a little bit about blow up, but what are you going to do? So I'm going to look to him. I had some Sam Burns last week. No?
Yeah, I could get there. I could get there with Burns.
What about the Wolf man? Chat wants to know about Matthew Wolf, who we know he's talented, but obviously he's gotten off to a little rockier start when you look at him versus Morikawa versus Hovland.
No, I don't think I'm going to get there with Wolf. I'm fading that swing.
Yeah, not for me. So we're gonna try to keep this, but I will say that Doc Redman is going to be popular, and he was phenomenal last week. There's no denying that. I'm a little skeptical. I'm not going there. He wasn't even on the web. Look at his Mackenzie Tour results. He wasn't exactly lighting it up there beforehand. So I'm going to let other people maybe chase Doc Redman, and I'll leave it to it.
Yeah. Boy, I don't even know what to say. Like, he was touted by people.
Sure, people. Yeah, good. Very good call.
And like good for them. But like you said, his last 2 starts were on the Mackenzie Tour, and I don't even think he cracked the top 30.
No, he was bad.
Yeah, he made the cut, but to go it was like T31 and T38 on the Mackenzie Tour. And I get that in limited starts on the PGA Tour, he had struck the ball well, and he has great amateur pedigree. But boy, it's hard to see a guy come in from the Mackenzie Tour and really think that you're going to play him because he struck the ball good like 6 months ago at the Arnold Palmer. Good for the guys that play him, but I didn't like him last week. I was bitching via DMs at people that did play him and tout him, but I'm not playing him this week.
That's right. All that's correct. Yeah, I'm not going there. I will say last week he served it. I didn't get there, but he served a really important price point. This week you have a bunch of options. It's not like he's mid-6s again. Even if he was, I wouldn't play him, but that's neither here nor there. I will not be there. I'd rather play Dylan Fratelli, obviously.
Again.
again, which never works. Bill Haas is there. If you want someone who will miss a cut, Max Homa is interesting. And then, I mean, really my goal, and it's going to be tricky depending on how you build. You don't want to go into the sixes because it's bad. I think we're going to all be forced to an extent. What say you? Do you see anything, or is it just really, really bad?
Yeah, it's really, really bad. The two guys that stuck out to
Straka
me.
on the mind.
Straka. No, I'm gonna strike out on all these punts down here, and I'm about to fire off. The two guys that stuck out to me just from a ball striking perspective was Andrew Landry at 6,700. You know, he's coming off a T59, T43. Definitely not anything that people are going to get excited about. But he gained 2.5 with the ball striking last week, and he was bad on and around the greens, negative 3.1 putting and around the green. So struck it okay. And then at the Travelers, he was plus 5.7 with the ball striking, and he lost 3.7 putting. So, two made cuts. That's no one's going to really see much in that. But the ball striking was good. The short game was bad. And I mean, really, not much else sticks out to me down here. Him, Joey Garber, same thing at 6,600. I know you're laughing, but I mean, what am I going to say? It's bad. But
that guy was up there in Detroit for a while.
Same thing with him. T29 missed cut, T27, T29. But he's gaining anywhere between 3.5 and 5 strokes with the ball striking in those made cuts, which is that's a good number. And for 6,600, I'll take a stab if I have to down here. Definitely not a guy I'm targeting. He's would be sort of like, all right, I need to punt, so let's try some Joey Garber, but not a guy I feel super confident in. But Landry, Garber, really the only two guys that kind of stuck out to me from ball striking perspective.
It's bad. Friend of the show, Scott, mentioned Troy Merritt. I looked at him really closely. We always get him wrong on the show, mostly because we never recommend him. I'm not there, to be honest, though. I know he can get hot with the irons, but it's a tough sell for me. One guy that I do want to mention, and again, you're going to look at the stats. There's no indication he's going to play well. I think he's coming off, 3 straight missed cuts. But I will say, Trey Mullinax specifically, he consistently gains off the tee. So if you want to build a team, and I'm going to do this on some spots, where it's like, okay, I want my guys gaining strokes off the tee. I'll deal with everything else. I'm probably going to get to some of him. We know he can go low. Obviously, there's major risk. I mean, he's playing awful, but I'm going to look to him. As I told you this the other day, I have a problem thinking that Steven Yeager is probably better than he is, but he is coming 3 out of 4 made cuts, 2 top 20s. He did not make the cut last week, lost 4.5 strokes putting, though. I can live with that. Everything else kind of checks out. Not going to be popular. And
Mr. 58.
Mr. 58. So when you've got that kind of upside, what can we say? Just nuclear bonuses for DraftKings.
So I got one for you. One of my favorite punts always at 6,400.
Oh, wow.
Fresh off of his suspension for marijuana, Robert Garrigus.
Bobby G
coming off a T20 on the Corn Ferry Tour last week. He knocked the rust off with that. No, I joke, but Garrigus is one of my favorite punts every week.
Super bomber. Just super bomber.
Yeah, he has like the weirdest combination of ton of length, but then really great approach game performances. And it's like when you can do that, when you can hit it 330 and then have the irons dialed in, you can do some damage. Awful putter, super inconsistent, has been doing God knows what for the last however many months, but I don't know. I have a soft spot for Bobby G.
It's good to see him back. Now that your boy Kevin Chappell's still not back.
So I don't know. I gotta DM him and see what's up with that.
See what's up. Before we get, not that we haven't been egregious, I do want to say quickly though, as I always say, if you haven't signed up, if you're interested in joining, you can use the promo code JazzRaz. Come on, got Slack, projections, articles. Obviously not just from us, from Jason Roslin, from plenty of other people on the team, and then we have all the other sports. Football will be here soon. You know how it goes. So if you are interested, come on in, give it a try if nothing else. But I looked to Ollie. I'm not gonna lie, I really did, and that's how desperate I was. Don't know if I can get there, but I mean, I just see him at 6,500. It's so
cut,
bad.
cut.
So he's due.
All right, I'm done. Yeah, that's it. Then he had a,
What about Streb?
T69 before that. Streb? I don't. What? How much is Streb?
Streb's right there. He's 6,400. Don't hate on Streb.
Yeah. We can get. Streb's got some. Has a couple decent finishes at least in the last 10. I would go Streb long before I went Ollie.
Yeah, Ollie's just going to make multiple doubles. So you're banking that he does that in the third and fourth round, not in the
just
first.
Make it through the cut, yeah.
Just because he's gonna score. It's brutal.
If you want to play the local angle, this is how bad Minnesota golf is.
There's locals. I honestly didn't know that they had producing any golfers on tour.
I mean, I would use the word golfer, maybe put air quotes, golfer. Our two local heroes are Tim Herron. He's the flat min at 6K.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Lehman, who of the Champions Tour, who I believe designed, renovated this course.
Yeah, he did some. This is why our chat is just too sharp. About 20 minutes ago, we had Merritt said, any Tom Lehman or Tim Herron, old hometown heroes. Look at that.
He must be a Minnesota guy.
There you go.
He's got to be from here because you would only know that if you're from here.
Yeah, I certainly don't know it. Tom Hoagie's up there.
Yeah, well, Roto World said, "Oh, the local game for Hoagie. He's from like North Dakota. I mean, come on." Yeah, I know everybody that lives in real states and cities, just groups like North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota all together. But yeah, no, he is not from Minnesota.
He doesn't count?
No, that doesn't count. Get that out of here.
Okay, fair enough. Man, I don't think you want to go that low. Shout out to Smiley. I see him. I'm scrolling through. He made the cut last week.
And then finished dead last.
Got 80 on Saturday, but he did make the cut. Yeah, I really think, honestly, don't mess around too much in the low sixes, maybe the mid 65 to 68. I think Andrew Landry, someone seen his name a little in what I've done. I get that. He's clearly been striking it better than he's scoring. And at this point, we're really just looking for guys who can find us 72 holes. The tournament's going to be one, I think, up top this week. I know we've seen lately guys coming out of nowhere. I don't think we see that this week. I just have a gut feeling it's one of the big names holding the trophy.
Yeah, we're due for one of these guys. Come on. I mean, last week was a good story, but,
Yeah. It was tough to bet, though, considering you couldn't bet Lashley before the tournament. And then the first round, just not
literally everyone who placed an outright lost.
Yeah.
How does that feel, Twitter? You all lost. We all lost.
Just the DFS screenshots made up for people just dropping fire out there. Congrats to some really sharp people that I saw. Did you make any bets this week, though? What do we got on the docket?
Yeah, they look really similar to last week's bets.
Just roll them over?
Just roll them over. Spawn and Malnati. I'm running it back. I liked what I saw. It was kind of one of those things where they showed enough where I liked what I saw, but the price didn't really get affected at all. Still, you can get those guys at 80 to 1, which I think are good bets. Yeah, they were decent enough last week, and I'm going right back to them this week. How about you?
It's just such a tough betting week for me because I really think, you got people like Bryson and he's like 14 to 1. Don't love the number, but I looked at him. Honestly, Finau is a guy I don't mind betting. I think it wouldn't stun me to see him play well for a change. Lately, he's going to turn it around at some point, but I know after last week and just I feel like in futures in general, everyone's looking for that, people, they don't even bet outrights anymore. Now you got to link them up with
the U.S. women's national team.
Yeah,
parlay it with Brooks.
You got to get outrights and doubles. USA games going on as we speak. Hopefully they're winning. Tunisia hopefully is winning. We got a lot of things going on, but I'm not going to get too crazy. I will say across the pond, the Irish Open is going on, and that is a stacked field. I think it's a better betting tournament too. I looked at RCB. I looked at Hatton. You have big names over there. Fleetwood's there. Rahm's there. Plenty of tour regulars. are getting ready for the Open.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to show up the first PGA Tour event in Minnesota by having a really good European Tour event here.
Really,
Really disrespectful to the great state of Minnesota, to be honest with you.
the respect level. It's true. No, even Seamus went over. He's got those Irish roots. I want to see him play in some links golf. That's a sight to see. But honestly, I'm probably on the betting side gonna roll most of my outrights there. I will say, if people are interested, I did hit 2 head-to-heads early this week, and will probably turn me into a donkey. I hit Hadwin against Lashley at even money. I get sucked into that. This is a Lashley tough spot, life-changing win. Everything, he's got to go to the Open coming up. Just everything changes. I think Hadwin's clearly the better player. And then I bet Reed against Neiman. I know Neiman's playing well, but I'll take the talent of Patrick Reed over him, minus 120.
Yeah, it's hard to see Lashley coming back. I mean,
That's a tough sell.
It's human nature for a guy like him who, I'm sure he probably didn't think, he probably doubted or didn't know whether he was ever going to win on tour. I mean, he's kind of been a struggling guy to get that win and all the money that comes with it, all the exemptions, a life-changing win for a guy that was in his position. I mean, it's only human nature to exhale and maybe think, all right, I mean, I'm kind of set here for a couple years. And yeah, so definitely a tough spot for Lashley.
You can't quantify it, obviously, but I don't care what anyone says. It's like you said, it's human nature. We'll see. Wow, look at Chad bringing the fire. Troy Merritt, Spring Lake Park High School in Minnesota. Where were you on that? Look at that. Troy Merritt knowledge here.
Right down the street. I should go see if he's they got a picture of him in the...
He's on the Wall of Heroes.
Wall of Fame or something.
Yeah, Troy Merritt. I like it.
But I think he left and we disowned him because he didn't go to college here. I don't think he claims Minnesota as his home.
You don't say. All right, a couple more and we'll get out of here. We have a question from chat. If you had to pick one, and they were the same price because he's talking about Yahoo, Jason Day or Decky?
Decky.
Same.
More consistent. Way more consistent.
Yeah, obviously, these guys, I would say I like Day's upside, but when you're talking about the elite players in a field, I don't really worry about that stuff because if either of them play to their abilities, they're going to win. They're that good. Decky just week in and week out feels like, a 10th place is basically where he lands, plus or minus.
Yeah, I mean, Day might have a touch more upside, but I think so much more consistent. And I think that makes up for maybe a fraction of the upside that Day has. I mean, like you said, I mean, it's almost, you feel like you're locking Decky in for a top 25.
100%. And I would have Finau firmly behind both of them. That was the follow-up. No doubt about that. Any last words? I mean, this is, like I said, these new events, they're really tough to break down. Nobody knows what's going on. You got to just kind of try to build to a correlation, try to infer what we can read into it, and go from there. My one last thing, and I'll pass it to you, is and it's hard, again, human nature. Just because DJ got cut, don't build differently because of that this week. I think there might be some gun-shy ability about kind of doing that, whether it's Brooks or just even in general. And that's an anomaly. It's going to happen, of course, but more often than not, that's the kind of build you're going to want to take.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't feel super strong about any of the guys at the top, so I'm probably going to spread it around. But like you said, that doesn't have anything to do with what happened last week.
Yep.
I mean, I still think DJ was the right play. I mean, Hideki was higher owned than DJ. When the ownership came out, I was shocked last week that how high Decky was owned, and DJ was owned, but not as much as I thought he was. I think he was the right play. It didn't work out. I know a lot of times you see guys like that miss the cut, and you see people maybe in Slack or somewhere on Twitter, and they're like, he was a fish play. I'm a donkey. It's like, no, he was the best. He's the best player in the world. It just happened. And it was just a bad week, So
no, there's no doubt. And that is why, again, and we could do a whole different show on this. you want to, I think it is important, when a tournament starts, check out the ownership and try to draw some conclusions before they start playing. Because that's important. You want to say, okay, I wanted to get leverage in this spot and I did. That's more important in some ways than seeing what happens. Obviously, yeah, if you jam a guy and he gets cut, you're going to have a rough week, but you can kind of be behind the eight ball or ahead before the guys even hit the course. And that's something you want to try to maximize, of course.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you want to look back and see what you did, and you can't just say everything is variance. And if you're losing week after week after week, just say it's variance. But a 1 week sample size, sometimes you just have to have a short memory and say, hey, it happens. We're moving on. But this is just totally different week. I just feel differently about these guys at the top than I did last week. I felt very strongly about DJ. Didn't work out this week. It's a little more murky at the top for me.
Same. I won't have an aggressive stand up there across the board. So, tomorrow night, me and Jason Roslin will be taking your questions. We'll be digging into weather, lineup construction, all that good stuff. That show's always.
If you need anything out of me,
yeah, I mean, like
maybe go out there and Periscope.
We're gonna cut to you on the course. Walking off the grass. I assume.
Yeah, I'm gonna pace off some fairway bunkers and stuff like that.
Excellent.
Really important stuff when you're making your DFS lineups.
It's what I need to see before I build. But on that note, obviously, chat, we always appreciate you. If you can hit the like button on your way out the door, that would be good. And then the fun never stops because we have John Deere, I believe, next week. Correct me if I'm wrong, which is just anarchy across the board. Then we go over to Northern Ireland. So we have an interesting stretch of golf coming up.
The guys on tour that like to party must just be ready to off themselves after going from Connecticut to Detroit to Minneapolis to
Zach Johnson. Where has he been? Yeah. This is his wheelhouse, and he's just messing it all up.
Yeah, if you like to play bingo and go to the VFWs and stuff, this is a good stretch for you. But
well, we'll see what we can muster up. But on that note, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go watch some soccer. You have any questions? Hit us up on Twitter, get in Slack. We'd love to have you part of the community. And we'll be back next week for the John Deere Classic. Enjoy your hometown event, Tim. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you next week.